Nigerians. I know a majority of people here are Nigerians, and we may not know the full story about, how we got to where we are at, but we know that at some point, the British were in charge and, they left us in this kind of mess that we found ourselves. And majority of what I am seeing today is the impact of colonization. And then when the military regime was enforced, we saw it as well. Even today, we have a lot of military people oppressing civilians. When there is a little form of miscommunication or argument, the next thing is someone who is in uniform, in a form of authority, enforcing their power and control, on the other people or a group of people. So it's like embedded in our society in a kind of way. And we've kind of like normalized it as well, right? We've normalized the behavior. I've come across skits on social media where people are saying nasty things about other people, and because it's made in the form of, funny characters and stuff like that. We all laugh, we joke about it, but what are you kind of like trying to put in the minds of people in an unconscious manner, right? So it can come in different forms. And, with children living in the home, they learn all of these things from us. There's something, that is called mirror neuron in us. So you see children when probably one of the first word a toddler will pick on or say back to you is no. And you'll be wondering, why are you always saying no to me? Because when the toddler wants to do something and you say, no, don't go there, no, don't do this, no, don't. And then the toddler starts saying that back to you. And you're wondering, oh, why are you always saying no? It's because that is what the toddler is learning. They're picking things from you. They're looking at your facial expressions. They're looking at your tone of, listening to the tone of your voice. They're looking at, how you become alive and animated when you're talking about things. So they start picking all of those things from you. So if a child is living in a home environment that is full of aggression, domestic violence, verbal abuse, they say it back. And not only are they going to say it back to you within the family home, they'll take it to school, which is the next place, they frequent on a daily basis. They take it to maybe place of worship if you're someone of religion. They'll take it to their friends in the community. So that is how, it starts, and it's quite complex. It's a complex thing as well. I think about a child who has autism. People might think that they are bullies because they say things the way it comes to their mind. They don't know how to, form a level of empathy. And that is, kind of like prevalent in children or even adults that bully others. They lack empathy. And for children with autism, I have a level of sympathy towards them because they don't know how to express themselves, tell you how, like when children come and tell you things, if you put something on your face, oh, you look ugly, oh, you look this. People with autism will say it to you straight away. They don't know how to be diplomatic and, present their words. And if you don't know, the way they function and how they are wired or how learning disability affects them, you will think that, oh, this one is a bully, always, talking anyhow and stuff like that. So that's another way to look at things and be able to manage with some people that have learning difficulties. But it's also prevalent in schools whereby there are no laws or policies that are enforced within the school system. If you have a situation whereby a child comes to you to report that, oh, this, if it's a boy, for instance, comes to tell you, oh, this girl, slapped me or something, and the teacher just like, it's okay, he's only playing with you, don't worry, go and sit down, and you dismiss that child the first time, and you did it the second time. Oh, but you're a boy now, you should be able to, stand up for yourself, go and, talk for yourself. And you dismiss that child and you don't address that kind of a scenario, it can become, a bullying issue on the part of the other child that is at the receiving end. Also, unhealthy competition. If you are a parent and all you're thinking about is your child achieving academically, yeah, you're just, straight up, when you wake up, where are your books? When you're sitting down, chilling, where are your books? You're not reading, everything is just studying. They are just, about studying because they want you to be a high flyer, high achiever, and all that. All of these things, they have a kind of level of impact on the child, and if you've not brought up your child in a way to challenge or speak into situations that you bring up as a parent, you're not helping that child. You're leaving some deficit of, a behavior that this child will carry on with, and will take that same behavior out, go and talk to people anyhow, instruct them to follow his or her own lead without anybody, saying, oh, why? You just follow my lead because I said so. So you do what I say. They will go out there and do the same thing. So it's within the family home, we need to check our family dynamics. We need to check our personalities as well. And then what the whole society itself is bringing. It's bringing. I mean, today in Nigeria, there's a lot going on in terms of the economy. That one, I don't live in Nigeria, but I see things, I hear things from my family back home, from my friends. People are just, so stressed that little things will just, spark up arguments that can now lead to a form of aggression or something else, simply because there's poverty in the land, people are stressed, so the only way they can turn is, take their aggression or anger on others, because they don't know how to manage their feelings or have conversations or, like handle conflicts as well. So what they resolve to is, we will fight about this thing, or you say nasty things about it without being able to manage properly. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. One thing I like about you was you kind of took us down a path and you tried to, narrow down and explain everything, holistically, and which is so beautiful. But one thing that you kept on saying and you kept on reiterating is, and that's very important for us, is that bullying sometimes is learned behavior. We can castigate children, especially when it becomes a public issue and you're like, where do you learn this behavior from? I don't know where you got it from. Mirror, mirror on the wall, look at yourself, look at, how were you a participant in it? That would
Yeah.
help you. Because children suck in things usually. So
Yeah.
Um, Tolu A, one thing that people are not asking is, okay, now I get it. um there's bullying, but why is it that some people can speak out, some people can't speak out? What is it? Why is it that some victims stay silent for so long? And some people are, because a lot of times bullying, what was it about it that brings shame? What is it about it that makes people just keep quiet and they prefer to suffer? What has shame, trauma, like, can you just break that down for us? Why is it that, bullying stays so long, And yeah.
Thank you. Um, I like the fact that the first speaker has talked about where bullying starts from, and she's talked about it being a learned behavior. So, and then how parents need to also look inward and see if these behaviors, their children are just mirroring their own behavior in the community. Then also talking about why do victims of bullies stay silent for so long.
Mhm.
I'll pick it up from where she's spoken. She talked about, when parents are very, you know, like the kind of parenting, authoritative parenting style, like they are dictators, and like, this is what I want, this is what you have to do. Like, I want you to be this, I want you to be a medical doctor. So because I want you to be a medical doctor, it means that you have to read your books, you can't play, and all that, and then seeing the fact that there's parents just say, this is it, this is it, this is that. It plays out in two ways for children. Some children mirror that behavior, and then they go out, and then they exhibit it and they become bullies. But then some children would, because of that, they have learned not to talk, because you've shut them up. And so what happens is that those children, when they go outside, they are shy, they are timid, they cannot relate, especially if we are parents that would, go would we don't know when to, like, discipline our children or say things in front of other people outside, because we do that thing a lot in I don't know, in Yoruba culture, and it's more like we are like ambomobi, we're training the child. So outside you will just disgrace your child, like, you shut up. When adults are here, that's when you put your mouth, all those things. We think that we are training them to be respectful, but the flip side of that is that we teach them not to be able to speak up, when there's aggression. And so when they go into the community, they can't fight for themselves. you
Mm.
know there's the fear of, there's the shame, there's embarrassment for them. Also, another thing is leaving the home front. Now when we into the community, let's give let me use a school environment for a scenario. Now there's the fear of retaliation. So sometimes the bully in the school, or the bullies in the school, they are, in quotes, the big boys, the big girls, the popular ones in school. There's a clique. And then when you have a child that cannot speak up for themselves, the fear that if I decide to challenge this person, they will come after me. you know that makes, people, children, to keep quiet and not talk. Another thing is the shame and embarrassment that comes from it. Sometimes, because when bullying goes on for a very long time, the child begins to question, or the people begin to question. And this is not just child; it even goes it happens in workplace. If somebody, like a particular boss, decides to pick on you, as the what's it called, the victim of their bullying, you begin to question yourself. You begin to question your capacity. You begin to question, you know your ability. And so you begin to think, why me? There must be something wrong with me. Why did not this other person? If they are picking on me, it's because there's something wrong with me. And so the fact that you feel that there is something wrong with you, you feel vulnerable. You don't want to share your vulnerability. So the shame that comes with it and the embarrassment makes people to keep quiet. Then the fact that sometimes people are not taken seriously.
Mm.
When you say that, when a child comes home and say, um this thing has happened to me, there's this child in my class that has done this thing to me, most times the response that we children would get to be, is that child not your mate? Are you not in the same class? Are you not age mates? So you let another child bully you in school. You're not coming to tell me something to go and fight back. Then what we do at that point is that we are now faulting the victim. We are not addressing the situation. We are faulting the victim. So because the child knows that when I go home, what my mommy or my daddy will say is that, Emi will be more there. Go out there and go and fight for yourself, forgetting that children have different, different behavior. And it's not every child would be able to come out and speak up. And so because they know that, they keep quiet. and they don't come home to tell you because they know what they will hear from you. And what now happens over time is what we call learned helplessness. They tend to, it's a learned helplessness, like a sense of hopelessness. They believe that nobody's going to believe me, nobody's going to do anything about this thing, and they just accept it. I and that bit is very, it's because it can play out in different ways, and that is why it is risky, because you never can know how it will play out for your own child. I read one novel on bullying, and then it was, we just noticed that there was a plan. This might be like an extreme example, but then a lot of extreme things are happening these days, and there was this in the book, there was this plan, like they wanted to, like, destroy the old school, burn up the school. Threats have been ongoing and everything. And then apparently what has happened is that there has been a child in the class that has been bullied for a very long time. Because of that, the child doesn't like to go to school. And of course, then there's a teacher in the school that is like a psychopath, you know and that is what happens. People, we have very horrible people within the community, and they target vulnerable people. So he has targeted that child that is being bullied, because obviously, because he's being bullied, nobody wants to be his friend. Everybody, they play pranks on him. Every cruel joke in class has to be done on him. So so he's just on his own, always crying. This man picked him up, and and because this man was the only person that will give him attention. This man is a psychopath. Will give him attention. Will listen to him. This was the only man that he felt loved him. And so what happened is that this man used him to carry out so many of his destructive plans. Because it was very easy for him to use that boy, because he looked like one very fragile, helpless boy. So even if they are doing investigation, they're running around, it's very, very difficult to be able to pick him, to say that, oh, to pick him as the person. So before it took time, before they were able to know that he is the one that is perpetrating this injustice, a lot of lives had been lost. And this is
Wow.
what bullying, this is what bullying can actually cause. Yeah. So it brings in learned helplessness. It makes people vulnerable, and because it makes them vulnerable, it also makes them become victims of manipulation by other people, for to carry out whatever devious acts that they want to carry out. Another reason why people would not speak out is because they've normalized the bullying. And yeah, because this is happening, it has been happening over time. You just see it as, that's just how life is. That's just how, I think, this is how it's just been. And it is bad, because it's bad to normalize things that are not good, because it affects our psyche. you know it causes trauma. It traumatizes people. And the thing about trauma is that, unfortunately for us, trauma disrupts the brain. It disrupts the way the brain functions. And then it makes people to, sometimes, kind of, the part of people's responses to trauma is that they dissociate themselves from what has happened. you know it's a way of dealing with the trauma. They dissociate themselves from the event. They try to block it out, from themselves. But this thing, it has, what is it called, ripple effects in the future, even for, not just for their mental health, even for their physical health. We I know that in Nigeria there isn't much talk about self-harming, but we know self-harming is real. And I
Yeah.
remember that I went to speak to a young girl who was self-harming. And when I started talking to her and asked her why she was self-harming, what she said was that, she's been traumatized. Some things that happened to her over the years. That's her way of dealing with trauma. And I said, how can harming yourself, cutting yourself up, you know be a way of dealing with trauma? She said, because it diverts her attention from the pain of what she had been through. And that the pain that she feels when she self-harms, is lower compared to the pain that she feels inside and in her head. And these are some of the things that can happen, when people are being bullied and it continues for long. When I talking about going back to normalization of bullying, um sometimes, like Toluo had said, it's part of our environment. It's part of our culture, a culture that normalizes bullying, and we see it play out, in Nigeria, where a culture that conforms to this is how this has to be, this has to be, just have to be a culture that does not adapt to the differences that people have, that people are different, and that celebrates the uniqueness in diversity. These are the kind of things that happen. Then one of the reasons why people, lastly, and this is the last part for me, one of the reasons why people also don't speak out is because they internalize the message of bullying, the things that the bully has told to them. The person bullying them has said that you are worthless. And there's this thing about hearing the same thing. This is talk about positive affirmations. When you speak, when you tell your children every morning, you say, I am somebody unique, I'm somebody of worth. They begin to see themselves that way. But when the thing that they hear over time is that you're worthless, you're useless, you don't know how to do anything, they begin to see it as that's who they are. And then they don't question the things that are happening to them. And these are some of the things that that makes it difficult for victims of bullying to speak out.
Thank you so much. This has been very enlightening. This has been so, I was just thinking through my therapy brain, like you guys are just hitting the nail, on everything. So, one thing that you said, and I'm going to open it up for even Tolu or to if anybody wants to answer this question now. One thing that was, reiterated by the both of you is the negative impact of bullying. Like, what has the home and the school, because let's flip it. Sometimes in the home, some children actually came from good homes, right? And then it's a personality issue, but they didn't learn. One thing about interactions is that you have to learn it. It's not something that you are born with. Nobody was born with how to interact with people properly. You have to learn it. And so some parenting skills do not intentionalize, teach children properly those things. And then they go out and now they just don't have the skill to say no and say no properly. So how can the school, because I want us to focus on the school, because bullying is so broad that if we go to the society, we will talk about policies, right? And you guys can jump in also. We can talk about, okay, child protection policies. Do schools even understand what child protection policy is? As a parent, when you're going to the school, did you ask the school what their child protection policy is, what their safeguarding rules are? Like, do people have those conversations in Nigeria? You guys, okay, Tolu was in Nigeria a while. Tolu A, Tolu O, you've been a while, but I know that you work in Nigeria. So should we be asking those questions about what are your child protection policies? What are your safeguarding policies? I want to see how you handle bullying, right? What do you think?
I think
Um,
that
yeah.
uh, I think that it's something that people need more information on. The thing is that when you don't have enough information on something, then you can't question those things. So I think the issue of bullying is just coming into light, like, because before, what we don't address bullying. We just feel that you are a weak person. This child, you are weak. When another child, bullies you, bully the child back. If this another child shouts at you, shout back at this child. If you're not shouting back at the child, then you are the problem. It's not the child that is the problem. So, and this thing, if it's something that consciously we have to unlearn, and relearn new things. So the thing about this thing is, when information is being spread out, then people will start asking all these questions about bullying, about, or what are the policies in place in school. Unfortunately, not all schools, are equipped to deal with these things. So they might not even have policies in place. Also, because the internet is very wide now. People just go, if you go on Google and just type or give me anti-bullying policies that we can put in our school, they will
Mhm.
just print out something on Google, and they will go and keep it somewhere. And when you ask for anti-bullying policy, oh, of course, yes, we have. But have they trained teachers? are they prepared? Are they equipped enough to deal with these things? These are, and I don't think that teachers have been, trained enough and equipped enough to deal with these things. It can be quite tricky, especially when it's a fee-paying school, and when you have to depend. The school depends on the fees that parents pay, to be able to do their outgoings, pay staff, and also make their profits. And so even when bullying is taking place, they are trying to cover up, also because of PR issues. It's if we remember very well, there was a school there was some years back. There was this very popular school on the island in Lagos where a boy lost his life due to bullying. And you could see how the school was trying to, because of course they're a big school, how they were trying to, cover up and give excuses. And it's from children, we've heard from some of the children that they were interviewed, it was obvious that this had been ongoing for a while, and it's not like the schools, to some extent the school will be aware, but they do not have what it takes to deal with it. Teachers are not well equipped. Teachers are also scared, they don't want to lose their job, so it's a whole. Then what is the state itself? Because if schools are not putting these things in place, what is the state doing? Because of course the department, I don't know what's called, it's the department, we call it Department of Education here in the UK, so Ministry of Education, sorry. So the Ministry of Education is tasked with the responsibility to ensure that some of these policies are in place. Are they monitoring? Are they training schools? Because part of their job is to also train, organize some of these trainings, and for teachers to come in and they will train and they will know how to deal with it. Are they monitoring this thing? Are they doing spot checks? There's a huge gap in policy development and policy implementation, and I think this is where we need to start from before, because if all these things are not in place, even if parents are questioning, then what would be done?
Yeah. Tolu, or do you want to say anything before we go to the
Tolu said a lot there, and it's a collective effort. We've talked a lot about how it starts, why it starts, and why people keep quiet. And then it's come down to how do we manage all of these issues, right? We've got a role for the parents to play. You need to know yourselves. You need to know how you're parenting. You need to be mindful of how, you're bringing children up. Over here, we talk about good enough parenting. We're not expecting you to be one perfect mommy and daddy, right? You're also learning from your children as well. And when there are issues within the family, within the laws and legislations in this land, you have, where you can go if you're having issues. We have early help, sector within the local authority where you can go to and get support. Do we have something like that in Nigeria? No. And this is one of the things, that leads to this mindset and sense of learned helplessness and hopelessness, because, you are still going to be the one to deal with everything yourself. Individuals, communities are the one providing water for themselves, light for themselves, schools for themselves. There's no single body that is, managing legislations that has to do with children. If I ask people on this platform now, what do you know about Child's Right Act? People are going to go quiet. But that thing has been there because I've been digging. I'm someone who has been talking a lot on using my social space to talk about, having a functional children and adult services in Nigeria. However, what I'm saying is like the people in power, they're capitalizing on people's ignorance, their sense of, normalizing all of this kind of behavior, and people don't even know they're right from wrong. They don't know that they have power. They know they can speak into situations. We've got so many parastatals, ministry this, ministry of women's this, ministry of that. What are they doing about schools? What are they doing in terms of supporting families? We don't have something tangible. If I wrote something down here and I'm going to read it, because I've put down UK policies and legislations that we have. It's not one, it's not two, it's not three, it's not four. And these are policies that have been worked on over and over and over again. If there is an incident, there will be a green paper, there will be, people investigating, they will come up with, the things that needs to be done, what is going on well, what we need to improve on, what we're not doing well at all, and there will be implementation. We don't have them. We've got the Children Act 1989, which is the cornerstone of child protection legislation in England and Wales. We've got sections 20 underneath this, legislation that will support children that you feel, okay, this one needs some kind of support, like what we're talking about. If there's an issue in school and they've talked to this parent, oh, we noticed that this boy is doing this, to other children. Once that is picked up, support is put within the school system to help that family to figure out, okay, what exactly is going on here? And they will look into it, okay, and put whatever support that needs to be put in. I'm not saying UK system is perfect, but there's something there. We don't have it in Nigeria. So everybody is taking laws into their hands. So you will see one school that is formed yesterday, they will come up with their own law. You will see another school there, they will come up with their own policy. No particular body that is coming to do or have those checks and balances. And it's impacting on us. So everybody's just doing their own, wuru to the answer. And like Tolu said, someone will just go on internet, go and pull up one policy, and then you start working on it. Okay, this is our policy for today. And then when something happens tomorrow, they change it, they flip it. It has an impact on the society. We've got the Children Act 2004. We've got the Children's Social Work Act 2017, which makes the local authority the corporate parent of the children living within that area. So like, say for instance, Ikeja local government. That Ikeja local government, I think, in fact, Lagos is the only place where I know that, okay, when something happens to a child, people spring up and they do one thing or the other. But when you begin to follow up, you see that, okay, the story will just die down in one funny way. I don't know whether they keep record of all of these things. I don't know how they manage, but you will know that, okay, there's still a lot, but at least they're doing something, So I'll give it to Lagos. They're doing something about it. But the local authority here is the corporate parent. You are the owner of your child, but when things go wrong, when a child, is likely to suffer harm, whether in school, whether within the home's environment, and it comes to our knowledge, we have the duty to go and investigate what is going on. The local authority will have to do that. If you report, that a child is being bullied at school and all that, right? You report it to us. We have to go within a particular time to go and do that investigation, get more information on what is going on. We're not going to say, well, that's how they behave. Oh, that's cool. They are very notorious. Or those teachers there. You have the duty to go and investigate. And once you finish your investigation, the person who contacted you or the body that you have the duty to report to them. We've done A, B, or C. You don't need to tell them everything that you are doing, but you have to let them know that we're doing something, we're on it. You have to do that. Where are all those things in Nigeria? Where are they? And any opportunity that I have, I talk about it. We need to have functioning children. We don't want just, if something happens in Festac, you carry the case to Ikeja for the case to be dealt with in Ikeja. So we have a long way to go. The UK government didn't come, get to this level in one day. I mean, many years ago, after the Second World War, we had the welfare state, managed by the church. The church had, the church was powerful. The church was a welfare state, doing everything for everyone. But then we had the Labour government come in, I think in the 40s, and they set up the children's services, the local authority where people can go to the welfare state to help families, come out of poverty after war. And they started building on all of these legislations and procedures and policies. We just have them. Maybe it's only lawyers that even know about all of these things. Parents don't know their rights. Children don't know their rights. And all of these things, they all amount to that sense of helplessness. If you don't know that you don't know something, you don't know that you don't know something. There's a framework around that. But when you now know that, oh, there is a law somewhere that I don't know, now I know, then you know that, okay, now I know this, so I can begin to rise up and fight. And I think this is why we need to begin to have all of this kind of conversations. Your schools, do they have policies? Can you mobilize teachers from your school? You know, when you guys meet for your association, and can you guys start talking about it? Okay, can we put in policies here that will follow up and make the ministry aware of this? Or the ministry should even have one particular policy that is used by private schools, public schools. Everyone is aware of what is written there. They can interpret it in a layman's language. They can understand what they need to do if things are going on. And I think this is the missing link. Yeah, we put blame on parents, we put blame on teachers, we put blames on the victims, but the corporate parents, our government, our leaders, the politicians, what are they doing, right? It's not enough for you to have parastatals, Ministry of Education, Ministry of this, Women's Affairs, clinical sports and all that. But what are they functioning? How are they functioning in the society? Can an average person, have access to a number, call, get a kind of level of support? All of these things are missing. And I think it's time for us to empower other people, let them begin to talk about, things like this and begin to put themselves in a place that, look, that sense of helplessness, we can change it, we can flip it around. All you need to do is to begin to know, begin to speak up, begin to act, and look at ways that you can, do all sort of activism. I hope I got the word right. To begin to make changes. Because if we keep on keeping quiet, they will continue to walk all over us, and that is what bullying is about. The government will keep on doing what they are doing. Children will keep on doing whatever they are doing. Teachers will keep on doing. Parents will continue to behave anyhow, and it will become the zoo that we don't want, our homeland or country or society or community to be. So the main thing is that missing link. What is the government doing about this?
Right.
Keep that conversation going.
Right. Thank you so much. So we have to please drop in your questions. I know Bino is raising up her hand, but I want to read a question that was in the chat box. Then I'll give Madam Bino a time to to ask her questions or drop a comment, her answer up. So the question in the chat box, he said so many nice things. But one thing that he was asking is, how do you handle bullying with adults? And I know that's something that when we were having our pre-conversation, we were like, let's narrow it down because bullying, it happens to everybody. And if you notice one thing that Tolu said when she started was, she even went as far as, bullying in the society, bullying by the military, bullying by, one thing about bullying is that anywhere there's a power dynamics and the power dynamics is obvious, there's automatically going to be a bully situation. So it is now how to advert it. But is there anything you guys want to throw into his questions and just, answer that before we, Madam Beno answer her questions? And so please, before you guys go on, if you have any comments, can you just drop it in the question? So while you answer that, I want you guys to think about something before we go. I know we've mentioned, and I know that's one thing when I was having my brief with you guys, that you must give parents. I know that, yes, we have to have, and yes, I've worked in the civil society sector for such a long time. So I know, I understand it, but I'm saying we can still think about how do we handle it now? How do we make the best of our life right now while we are trying to figure out everything? Okay, so don't answer that now, just answer the one of the question. When Madam Beno comes up, then we would end with, give us tips, how do we do it, a child that is bullying and all that. Yeah. So Tolu or which of you want to go? just shoot
Okay.
on that.
So
Yeah.
like I said, a child who is bullying is either that child is using bullying as a form of defense for him or herself, or it's something learned within the family home, something that's been picked up, within school as well. We don't know. But when something comes to your attention as an adult, if your child comes to you to tell you that this is happening to me at school, you have to drop everything you're doing to listen to that child. You have to acknowledge, just like Tolu said, it's not about saying, you're coming to come and talk to me about this. Is that person not your age mate? You're supposed to rise up to the occasion and deal with this thing, right? Listen to your child. Or even if you're the caregiver, whether it's not your child or any child that comes to you, talk to you, you have to listen. Let that child know that you are paying attention to what he or she is saying, right? And after you heard that, you can now take it back to the school authority. Say the issue or the incident is taking place within the school. Take it to the school. This is what I had. This is what my child said. Can you let me know what you're doing about it? Whatever they have said to you. You can also, within that space, ask if the school, if it's in the UK, it's a different ball game, If something happens, I can go to school and ask, the teachers that this is what my daughter came home to tell me. Can I know whether you're aware of this? Because this is what my child said. And everything they've said to me, or we talk about, I, as a person, I will ask them to put everything in writing. Or I'll go back to my house and I will write in an email the conversation we had, what you said you're going to do about it, and when we're going to come back to visit that situation. I'm not going to let it go, right? We'll come back to it. We'll come and face it. And if it's a repeated thing, whereby bullying is a big thing now, and it's gone beyond just calling names or calling body shaming. Physically, is on the internet. Over here, I've heard of situations whereby boys would take pictures or ask for body parts of young people like themselves, and they post it on the internet, or they would threaten to post it on the internet. You have to do this for me, and if you don't do it, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It is a criminal offense now. If your child should be caught within the group, even if you are not the one, committing that act, your name is within that group and they find out, it's a big trouble now. And it's going to stay on your record until you are 50, right?
Wow.
It's a new legislation that has come out. It's a crime for you to post something on internet without the consent of that person, especially when it comes to sexual content. So are you, as a parent, are you aware of this? Like I said, what you don't know, you don't know. But once you know how to go about it, then you get up and you act on what is going on. If you're someone who is shy, or you don't like confrontation, people tell me, I don't, you have to speak up. You can't even live in a place like the United Kingdom and not be able to speak up. You have to learn. I used to be a shy person. Take it, even though I had a level of, activism in me, and, I may not be able to fight you, but, you cannot cheat me. I will speak up, I will do that. But there are instances that, I've been shy. But when I got here, I learned a lot of things. I unlearned a lot of things as a parent, because take it or leave it, the way we are parented, it comes out in the way we parent our own children as well.
Yeah.
Right? And I learned some things. I'm like, no, this is not going to work. Even though this is how my own parent, did it, but it's not working for me. It's not working for my children. So I had to unlearn those things. It's not easy. You have to work on yourself. You can't speak, you have to learn how to speak, learn how to have effective communication. You learn how to put your point across without, being aggressive. There's some people that are passively aggressive as well.
Yeah.
And that's the way they bully other people. And a lot of people here, they are passively aggressive. How do you handle people like that? When they are saying A, is that A actually what they are saying? Or there's B underneath that A. You need to learn how to decipher all of those. And these are skills that, when you seek for help, when you talk to other parents, you talk to your support network, you don't keep quiet. That's one thing. You're not here to do life alone. We're all connected one way or the other. Talk to people, talk to friends, if you are a church goer, if you are in the mosque, talk to people. Don't let anybody silence you, because this is the time we need to learn to speak up and speak for ourselves and empower our children to speak up as well. I hope that is useful.
Yes, that's quite, impressive. That's quite. So, Madam Beno, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, I've known you for a long time, so
yes, exactly.
yes, and I really, really appreciate this work. And I
Thank
try as much as possible to always link on when you are doing one of these podcasts. And the thing is, unfortunately or fortunately, I own a school. You understand? I own a school it's a small school in Abuja. I've taught in England and I've worked for UN Women. So I know these laws and everything. And when is it Mrs. Ajayi or Miss Ajayi, when she was speaking, she mentioned about the schools, about things like that, and the bullying and all those. Private schools, we are in a bit of a dilemma. I hope you are hearing. We're stressed somehow because we don't like this issue of turning teachers. Like every time 1 year you've changed one teacher, you change another one, and also we need our money. So which is the truth? I taught in England. My children are in England. They went to school. So that issue of printing, the safeguarding thing, I'm a psychotherapist by profession. So I have all those. I know everything about ethnic minority after teaching in England. I taught from nursery to adult education. So across the line, you know that bullying takes place. But in Nigeria, what we experience, I don't know if I would call it bullying, because people might not even believe that a rich man's child will bully another rich man's child. Or sometimes they put this bullying into classes. Like, how dare somebody calling me to say that my child bullied me, my child. So, and when you look at if that parent has 3 children in the school, if they pull their 3 children, you feel it in your bank account. What do? You will start looking for the child that was bullied first to go and negotiate with that parent. And part of the time is that I've sacked a teacher for a child being bullied in the school. I can tell you that it was almost not the teacher's fault. But I'm ashamed to say the parent demanded that the teacher be sacked. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. But this is me. I don't depend on the school for even paying my teachers. I use my pension to pay for my teachers. So I don't really look at those things. But when I looked at the neglect part of safeguarding that the teacher failed to implement, it was on that ground I sacked the teacher. Because she neglected. She already has an issue with the parents. So she now removed herself from anything to do with that child. And when she was talking, I was looking at her body language. She was like, oh, these parents. That's the thing. But we have a problem with education board. We call it QE, this quality education people. When they come to my school, I'm telling you, they don't stress me. They will just call these London people, all these London people with your laws. And, when they say London people first, you bring the money to give to them. I'm telling you the truth. This is we talking. You keep the money that you will give to them when they come. When you put money, tell me the kind of investigation they will do in your school. Will they tell you, go and bring this? So so what I do for myself, because my children are very on my school, they have CCTV camera on their phone that they can see the school themselves. So they watch and tell me things. So I bring my friends also. I have a very nice lady. She's a lawyer, but she works in education. She comes 2 days before these people come, and she would point out every single thing that I'm not doing right. She tells it, bring this, you bring that, you bring this, bring that. Show me that you've done this training. So that when the education people come, they won't bother to look at those things. But somebody has looked at them for me, for my children's sake. Because these things happen, and I really would appreciate that. Bullying is not just with the children, the teachers also that you employ. When we're talking about autism, a lot of people are on spectrum.
Yeah.
Parents, teachers. So autism is not a child's thing. People are on different spectrums, and it carries on. People have adults that have been traumatized as children. Sometimes they don't know where to let go. They don't know how to detach. They don't know how to separate. You understand? And they carry it. And I call it, maybe I know that it's something I've studied. This thing is in their DNA. They will pass it on. Not everything. Trauma is in their DNA. It has now not just left what they're doing. It's in their DNA. So you can see teachers that will, even when you are interviewing them, there are some tribes I will not employ. I've had my head teacher, before I relieved her of her post, slapped my gate man.
Wow.
Why would you do that? But why would you do that? No matter how bad, in presence of students? You understand? So there is so much. When we talk of bullying and we focus on schools, really, parents, I want you guys to do yours. Mothers, some of them have this passive, this bullying that people don't understand. I've seen where women will bully the men, and I've also seen the reverse. But in Nigeria, when we focus on these things, bullying, you think it's only a boy that bullies, and it's only a man that bullies. It crossed across. Like the boy that died in Lagos, they are from my local government area. And I also saw neglect when the child was brought home, because the child was also brought home. You understand? So little things that people just overlook. But now we've talked about this. What I want to say from this now, all of us here, 24 of us, if we have partners, we are 48. If we have friends, we are like 62. Let's be thinking about it. After today, what are we going to, does this now end here? Where are we going to take it from? I say I have a school. Will I go back now this night to start reviewing? If I don't, it is now shame on me. Because when Tolu was also speaking, I was listening, taking all the things, and I was mixing. I said, where can I now see, what can I do for myself? Is it that when the quality assurance, when they come, should I first of all pretend I'm not giving them any money, let them give me the fine, and let me see where we get to? Or should I, because I don't want stress also, should I just continue paying? I still need, everybody needs to do their part in this bullying. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you. Thank you. I've not had such a long time. Thank you so much, Ma. And so do you guys want to weigh in Tolu O and Tolu A, what she said? I know she said, and thank you for being so vulnerable to even share some things that you're not even worried that you might castigate or anything. Like, what do you guys want to say about it?
It's difficult. It's complex in Nigeria, and this is why, just like you said, is it Mrs. Bano? Can I call you Bano?
Yes, Bano. Yes, madam.
Yes.
Yeah. It's quite complex. But if we're going to change the status quo, if we're going to change, they said, if we want to change to begin, we start with ourselves. So how are we also, in this dance of, power imbalance, in this dance of lawlessness, in this dance of not following with procedures? How are we involved? So we start from ourselves. Like you said, that thinking has started within you. Should I carry on doing it the way I'm doing it? Or should I begin to, speak to other, proprietors and proprietresses? This is a problem that we're having. We need to begin. I mean, I know we have to eat. I know we have to make ends meet. But also, what legacy are we leaving behind? I have a father who, from a very young, age, when I knew him as my father, is someone that will not bow down to doing things the wrong way. And he paid dearly for it. We, the children, we paid dearly for it as well. And I'm happy to say this is my father. Yeah, he retired as a deputy director with NPA. And I know the kind of problems, he faced and the challenges, because he will not dance to doing things the wrong way. So, I'm like that now, right? I'll rather, stay in that corner and do the right thing rather than going with the crowd, doing it the wrong way. So it starts with us. Are you going to call other school owners like yourself? This is the norm. This is what we are doing. We need to change it. We need to find different ways. Are you going to call on the government, the ministries? Like, this is what is going on. The inspectors, it's like what you said to me is like the Ofsted here, going to schools and, even children. When Ofsted is coming to children's services, hey, come and see us, local authorities, trying to make sure we are putting all our books in order, making sure that cases are done well. It's like Ofsted is coming and we are preparing to give them money. Heads will roll, heads will roll. And it just starts with someone, being that disruptor. You disrupt that culture. It starts with one person. And if you want to be that person, I think that is, I think we've done our work here today, because what we want to do is get people to start thinking, talking in terms of how imbalance of power, our try, in trying to make things work, we just have to go with the flow. Like, I've seen a lot of people also coming from here when they get to Nigeria, like, if you cannot, you have to do what they are doing in Nigeria, you have to just go with the flow. And I'm like, me, I cannot survive. I can't survive. I'll just pack my bag and come back to where I'm coming from. But I know people want to make things work. But we have to, honestly, we just have to break that status quo. We just have to. I'm a Christian, and I can speak from, my belief system in terms of it's something that will kill us in this world. Something will kill us, and we have to just stand up for something and do it right, do it the right way. And you'll be surprised how other people too will start following your footsteps. Also, the way we respond to situations, like we said, if there is a policy in place, what is that policy? Even if the teacher is the one that is at fault, if it's the student, I mean, before you can, get kicked off from job, there's a disciplinary format you follow. You've done something wrong. Okay, there's training available. What is the training available to teachers? What is the training available to parents, within the school system? How can we work together? We want to work together. We don't want anyone to be left out. How do we work together? How do we make this thing work? And if it's something that you've put the policy in place, you've talked about it first time, the second time, you called discipline, you followed all your processes, and it's still ongoing, then you let the person go. You let the person go. And because your first duty is to the children. We all have to work to safeguard the children. Adults are already formed, though. to change an adult, it's difficult. And you're a psychotherapist, you know that. Adults are already formed and set in their own ways. So the only thing we can use to break the back of adults is laws. When the laws are there and they're being followed through with, we will use that to bring people down. But children, we can still mold them. I mean, there are, even now, there's a lot of researches about, rewiring the brain, how you can, address trauma and all that. For a child, you can still work with them. Once policies or support is put in place, you can still, make those changes. But with adults, it's a different ballgame. And the only way we can make those changes is those laws, those policies being enforced, to the T. And our corporate parents, how do we begin to talk about them? Me, I am very big on that one. We can't just continue to do things in our own little. We need to take the fight to their doorsteps. They cannot be, instituting ministries of this, ministries of that. What are they doing? How are they supporting you, with your own little business you're you're training children, the leaders of tomorrow? Where is the support for you? We need to take that back to them in terms of what they need to do and how they need to support in implementing legislations, policies, procedures to ensure that you, the school owner, the teachers, the parents, the children, everybody is working together to achieve, to achieve a better outcome for the children or for everybody that is involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Tolu, do you have anything to say before?
Just a quick one. I would say that in trying to stop bullying, because I think that's what Madam Beno was the question she was trying to ask. I would say that, yeah, I mean, we have a very long way to go, because working in the civil society sector in Nigeria for about 10 years, I can say that it's very difficult to work with ministries. It's so difficult to get things done. That's the reality. Unfortunately, because there's no accountability, there's no reporting system. It's very easy to do all those things in the Western world, but in Nigeria, we will eventually, because I'm a very positive person, would eventually get there. But at the moment, we are far, and we're not near there. But then these issues are still with us. They are everyday issues. So how do we, in our own little small, cohorts, address these things and deal with them? And so I will still bring the responsibility back to the school. And I love the fact that we have a school owner here, and I think she's someone that has a bit of weight, but I believe you have a bit of weight within the association, the private school owners association. I can't remember what it's called now. Yeah, so some of the things that I would say with regards to addressing some of these things, it's building empathy, the culture of empathy and inclusion. It's very, very key. Regularly teaching what is called emotional intelligence. Teaching, and this is not just about children, it's also about parents. I mean, teaching what we call boundaries, teaching what is called inclusion. I know that some schools have what we call anti-bullying week, or anti-bullying day, where they address this thing, but it should be something that is consistent. I remember when I was in secondary school, one of the ways in which my school addressed people coming to school dirty is that every week, although some of the things that they did, I won't support it anyway, but every week what they do is they, at the end of, on a Friday, when we have this our social gathering, I mean, they call out the best, the neatest student for the week, both male and female, and they get an award for it. The flip side that I don't like that they did was that then they will now bring out the dirtiest and the dirtiest girl and dirtiest boy and give them soap. I mean, that one, no, I think that one is not. It's not a very nice thing.
Not at all.
It's not nice, not nice thing to do. But then, the fact that every week, so someone like me, I don't like to wash my uniform honestly. But looking at it, the fact that I want to win the prize, it gingers you to want to. So these are some of the things that we can incorporate. So into like people teach emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is very, very important, not just for children, but also for teachers. Because she talked about the head teacher that slapped the gates man. I mean, the truth of the matter is that if you go and check too, there's a bit of a damage somewhere, even for the head teacher. So even head teachers, what happens is that people are victims. Then victims go ahead to become perpetrators, and then the
Yeah,
cycle continues. You know,
continuous.
yeah. So it's and another thing that I would say is that, I mean, we have regular parents teachers association. Within this, if it's just a few session, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes session, pick some of these things and we address these things. We've talked a whole lot about bullying being learned behavior. Yeah, children children mostly modeling the things that they have learned at home and they have seen, and taking out some of the abuse, frustrations of the abuse that they have experienced at home, outside within the community and into the schools and into other children. So parents too need to know some of these things. As much as we think that it might be, it's difficult to change, but then bits of information here and there, we don't know when these things begin to to make to impact people, and they begin to think about change. Another thing I would say is that we should make kindness and respect part of our daily norms.
Yeah.
In the school, the policy, make it. I mean, we could do. I mean, little prizes. It could just be like a very nice pen, different prices on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. So this is the I don't know if there's any word called kindness. This is the kindest child this month, and talked about what the child had done. Things like this. It also helps. When it creates healthy competition, and people, children also want to strive to, win, no matter how small. The fact that they won that award. But in my child's school here in the UK, some days she will come home with it's just a sticker on her chest, and she'll say, "Oh my God, I'm amazing today." And I'll be like, "Oh, what did you do?" Because I helped someone. I helped, she would say, I helped Lucy get a water bottle. And my teacher said I did well because I was being kind. These are these things that we in Nigeria, we don't incorporate it into schools. Need to begin to do some of these things. What it does is that it creates an environment where people are empathetic towards one another. People begin to learn these things. These are ways in which we can begin to unlearn some of the behaviors that we have learned. And like Tolu O has said, that children is easy to mold them. And so when you put all these things, they begin it forms who they are, and it makes us to produce healthy people into the society. Another thing that I would also want us to talk about is because it's also supporting what's it called, the victims healing. For example, in schools, when people have come and they reported bullying, some of these things we need to support their healing process. We need to give them the safe space where they can talk. We can create if you remember them, when we had these safe spaces then with the Voices for Change program, we can have such safe schools can create such safe spaces where such spaces that address bullying, where people that feel that they have been bullied, you create a safe network for them. Maybe once a week, some of the club activities that they have, they will come and talk about these things. They will rub minds together. They, create a network for them, a society for them, where they can learn to lean on one another. They can learn to talk about these things as simple or as whatever. They really help a lot, to build people's self-esteem. It's very, very important. Creating that safe space, it helps them to rebuild their confidence. And another thing that I think that we should also take away from here today is that, and we've talked about it, is to have what is called I call it creating reporting systems in schools. Is very and I'm very big on that, where victims, it can be anonymous. It can be like an online Google form, where there's a link where you feel that you have been bullied. You can go there and go and make a report, or that somebody that has witnessed bullying. Because some of the times when bullying happens, if it usually like it's been reinforced because bystanders, and what I mean by bystanders, I mean by other children witnessing it, are just like, it's not my
Supporting.
business. Yes, and so it aids and abets whoever is the bully to keep on bullying other people. But when we empower bystanders to be able to, to report, and, we incentivize some of these things. We're not coming out to say that this person has come to talk. It's just say, oh, this person has been kind this week, has been, and we give them prizes, and all that. It incentivizes them to, to do this thing. And when they know that when they report these things anonymously, they are covered, so that they don't suffer like a retaliation because they have said it. When they know that, I'm trying to that, like, have the whistleblowing policy where the whistleblower is being protected, then you will see more children come out, to speak up, and report these things. Another thing that I want us to take away from here today is that like we said, some of these children too that are being bullies, they are also victims,
Yeah.
So we also need to teach them, there should be consequences. When reports, one of the things, the problem that we have in Nigeria is that people will make reports, but then there's no intervention, So apart from the victim, the intervention for the victim, there must be consequences also for whoever has been named the bully. We need to they need to have. And some of the things, there's something I call it restore. I forgot it. There's something like restorative justice. Yeah. So for restorative justice, it deals with letting the bully understand the impact. So for example, an identified bully, one of their the consequence for them is to go and sit down in the safe space of those that have been bullied and hear what the impact have been. Let them know what they are doing. Let them know the damage. It also goes a long way for them to reflect, because it provides an avenue for them to reflect on the things that they are doing, and begin to think about how they need to change. So the support, it's not just going to be, so it's a support for in both ways, not just for the victim, but also for the perpetrator, because we just can't leave them alone. We need to, carry them along and ensure that, they also, they are better in, and I know, I think that's it. What I just wanted to know is that we need to speak up. Everybody, school owners, teachers, parents, professionals, everybody, because when we don't speak up, when we make a culture of cruelty, when when we foster a culture of cruelty, when we foster a culture where people think, to talk bad, to pick on people is funny, and we laugh about it, we create a sick society. We create a society of heartless people. We create a society of vulnerable people, and we create a society where people lack empathy. And when people don't have empathy, what happens is that the society is totally dysfunctional, and it's the ripple effects that we all suffer it. So it's time for us to shout out, speak up, and within our own safe spaces, or within our own spheres of influence, I put it that way, let's begin to do something. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And interestingly, we spent an hour, 30 minutes. I didn't look like we spent an hour, 30 minutes.
Wow.
Because this was quite a refreshing conversation. One thing that I want to leave, that I want us to, I thank God Madam Beno spoke, so I didn't have to, because I realized the dynamics in Nigeria is the fact of the rich and the poor school. I know when I was having questions, I told you guys, and it's a big issue. One thing that I wanted to add to everything is that I think we should be willing to want to stop it, right? Because everything we've said today, you must go back and be willing to want to stop this thing. It must be something that irritates you enough to say, I want to stop it. Start like that. And because what will not happen is that innovations will start coming in. Do you understand? By the time you are willing to say, this thing has to end, you, the parents, and sometimes when your child is a bully. Because you know your child. When your child is going to be a victim of being a bully, right? So stop hiding, stop putting your eye, somewhere else. And if you too have experienced being a bully, because somebody asked that question, if you have experienced being a bully, right, and you don't know, like, do not be shy about it. Because sometimes what I would have seen on social media is that people that have been bullied, they have a very excessive emotional reaction to want to stop it, and it's not inhuman, right? So you see them encouraging, beat the child, slap the child, do all these things, right? What you're doing is that you're perpetuating the wicked act. So if you as a parent who have gone through bullying, do something about it, because you will teach your child, whether you like it or not, how to be a bully or how to be a victim of bullying. Okay, so I want us to, narrow it down, that let us not leave here today and just say, okay, nice talk, nice conversation. No, let's be willing, like be very willing. The Bible said, if you are willing and you are obedient, you will eat. Like, start with that. You will eat the good of the land. Start with being willing, and start because you have to be so willing to say, I want to stop it. I want to do something about it. I want to, just stop this thing. And then you start seeing conversations from that. So thank you, everyone. Does anybody, before we leave, I'd like you guys to say, the final conversations. But before that, does anybody have any comments? Rose, I read your comments. I read it, and I liked it. I read most of your comments, and why I didn't say anything was, I know Tolu spoke a lot about that comment, and so it was like you are almost reiterating what Tolu said. And what Rosie said was that most of the time is from the home, right? But it's yes and no. Sometimes bullies, the children learn it even in school. They are being taught. A child is being taught because it just looks fun, and because they're not understanding the implication of what it's doing to the next person. And so that's why I like one of the recommendations Tolu gave about, let the bully themselves be in, not all the time, but let them have a way of being around and seeing, because sometimes when the bully itself is in the midst of the safe places, it can have a negative impact, So so that would be, it is the caregiver that will know how to break the dynamics, because the bully can go there and also cause more harm, right? So, but let's think about it. So we have Coach White to give one last answer. Then we round up, and then thank you so much for coming. Yes, Coach White, please.
Thank you very much. Now, what I want to say is, and I'm going to kind of rattle everyone. Number one, let me challenge us. We're already more than two on this forum. We've looked at this from different perspectives. Mm-hmm. Why don't we form a forum here and advocate for this? Because without us, without these people, nothing would happen. That's the honest truth. Nothing would happen. Well, we know that if we leave it to the ones, sometimes, I don't blame the school owners and the teachers. Sometimes they don't know themselves. So a lack of knowledge also would show what they display. So if we decide and say, hey, listen, you know what, let's form a quorum. I noticed something about our parents. I also had a dad who would not compromise, and he suffered and we suffered for it. But what I've now noticed in my own later age is that if he had other people stand with him, it would have been a voice that he would have wielded.
Yeah.
But because he stood alone, he's the only one that stood. I won't take bribery. I won't cut corners. He stood alone, and we all suffered. What about if there were 10 of them, 12 of them? It would have been an advocate. Because sometimes when you see things done by one person, you're like, maybe it's a mistake. But when it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5. Just like when you come into a program and there are like 10, 100 people there, you will think it's gege, even if it's not. So there's something with numbers. If we can learn how to rally around ourselves and say, listen, you know this, you seem to have a school, you do this. How can we collaborate and have a unified voice to say?
Or is it me or his connection has gone up?
I think it's frozen.
Okay, it's frozen. Okay, so I think we got what he's trying to say about getting a voice and doing something about it, right? And he's right. As I said, we must be willing. We must be willing. We can't just go about it again. Bullying is an endemic now. It's not child's play again. It's not what, it's not. It's a menace, and it's evil. No matter how you think about it, it's an evil thing. So last comment from you, Tolu. Last comment from you, Tolu, before we leave here today.
Yeah, collaboration. working together. I'm big on that as well. Even here in the UK, I see a lot of communities within the Somali, the Pakistani community, the Indian community, the Jewish community. They come together. They work together. Well, in our own community, everybody's just doing their own thing. This one will start their own charity. That one will start their own charity. When you can come together and, you achieve more together. And I think that is an area, an aspect. I mean, we are so big on talking about children being parented by the community, like the African adage, children, what's that word? I've forgotten that proverb that in the African community, the children is being nurtured by the community, not just one person. But we're beginning to find out that I don't know whether it's the kind of education we are getting, we're doing our own thing. Everyone is doing their own thing, but we need to start thinking about that collaboration, coming together. Churches, I mean, most of our people are in places of worship. What are the churches doing about this? Even some religious leaders are using their platform to bully members as well. But what is their understanding of bullying? How can we use that platform where we find most of our people how can we use that platform to begin to push this agenda? This is not okay. This is not right. We cannot continue to, bury our heads in the sand, or we're waiting for one savior, somebody to come from somewhere to come and save us. Nobody is coming to save us. We have to begin to work together. I agree with him. Anybody that wants to do collaborative work, call me. I'm available. I'm ready to work with people. I'm always looking for people to work with because I know that Yoruba adage, Oshuowo. Hey, don't let me bastardize this proverb. I'm sorry, my Yoruba elders. Like you cannot use one hand to lift up an item. We need to work together. Whether you are a Muslim, Christian, I don't care. Traditional worshippers, I don't care. Whatever you believe in, we need to begin to work together so that we can address this menace. It's a menace, and we cannot continue to keep quiet. He said, when good people keep quiet, evil will prevail. So we need to start from somewhere.
Thank you so much. Tolulope.
I thought I had said the final bit. My last speech. So now to say that as people we should
Your network
we should stop
is it talking?
excusing
Tolu, we can't hear you again. Your network is
Yeah.
your talk is
excusing. He says my network is unstable. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but it's dragging. What
Can
you're
you hear
saying,
me?
it's dragging. I think it's back now. Yeah, it's back now. Yeah.
Yes, Tolu. I think you can go on.
Yes. My network is unstable.
Oh, okay.
I'm asking.
Okay. Then let's round up. So,
okay.
One thing that I want to do is that.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. It's just dragging.
Okay. Tolu, do you know what? We'll just round up from there. Yeah, because like you said, you've said it, most of those things. But of course, I want to thank you guys for coming and having these conversations. There's been talks about doing after here, what next. So if everybody's here, I know that there's more than one school owner here actually that is here. And I know some teachers are here. So you guys just reach out. I'll do the connection. I'll do the connecting. You could call people to come and teach, Madam Beno, have people come talk to your teachers in school. Let's have a conversation after here, and I can connect you with, everybody, the two Tolus that are here. So reach out and I will do that job for you guys. And we will, like we said, we can't do it on our own. And interestingly, in Nigeria, we have a lot of experts. We have a lot of experts in Nigeria. Let's put our experts to use. So thank you, Tolu O and Tolu A, so much. So much. I'm happy that I was able to, bring the two of you in, bring your expert advice, and really, it was really, 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 really helpful. Thank you. And thank you,
for having
everyone
me.
that came today.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you
you,
all.
guys. Hope you guys pick something up. Hope you guys are going to
Bye,
be
everybody.
thinking about it. Bye, Madam Beno.
Bye bye.
Yes.
Lovely meeting
Bye.
you.
Yeah, bye.